definitely. I think it just sounds as if offended by everything, ashamed of nothing.
Yeah.
That comes to mind all the time for me. So, you know, we have so many illegal people here still. We've got a failure of this whole country. I don't know what direction we're heading in towards, because I was considering, should I stay in the UK now? Because I feel like, have we hit the point of no return where we're pandering to the extremists, we're doing nothing about these people, and I don't know, the whole thing is an absolute mess, and I feel really, really sorry for the Jewish community. And like I said, I don't speak for every single Muslim, I only speak for myself, but I feel I need to apologise on behalf of the Muslims in this country.
But we're going to talk some more now with Lubna Zeydi, former Apprentice star, now commentator. Lubna, thank you very much indeed for joining us again.
Thank you.
Last time you were here, you were talking about the kind of the failure, if you like, of the Muslim community to kind of call out certain things that have gone on in it, whether it's grooming gangs, whether it's you know, attacks on Jewish people. I mean, this morning we're all feeling, I think, quite angry about what's happened, and some people are blaming the politicians of this country because they don't speak the truth about what Islam is like and what communities are doing. How do you feel this morning?
First of all, I would like to you know, share my condolences with the Jewish community, and I feel as if, of course, I don't speak for all the Muslims in this country, but I feel as if I need to apologise on behalf of the Muslims in this country. I think we've let the Jewish community down, and sadly, it felt as if we were waiting for something going to happen. That something's going to happen, and it has now. But I'm absolutely disgusted, and I feel a lot of people from my faith can do way more. They're sitting on their butts doing nothing, and I mean, I'm absolutely shocked, and I'm almost speechless, you know, because it's absolutely shocking. And there was a protest that happened apparently yesterday as well.
Last night, yeah.
That is so disgusting. I mean, this is the kind of thing, I mean, it looked as if they're celebrating, right? And these weren't just Muslims, these were the pro-Palestinian people. And sadly, a lot of people have conflated Judaism with Zionism. And they see, some people see Jewish people as a target, a hit piece. So, yeah, it's absolutely shocking, and I'm just speechless,
Well, as I said earlier to my last guest from the Independent, Danny Stone was here, Anti-Semitism Policy Trust CEO, and he said, you know, I've just sent my children out to school. They go to a Jewish school somewhere in London, I don't know where, and he said they asked me if it was safe, and you just think that's awful.
Yeah.
Children, you know, not knowing whether they can walk down the street without being attacked just because they're Jewish.
Yeah, definitely.
That can't be right in 2025 in Britain, surely.
I feel the extremists have been emboldened over the years, and I don't see the government seriously trying to tackle extremism. How many are on the terror watch list? Why are there organisations that the Arab countries have deemed terrorist organisations, but we haven't? I mean, all of this doesn't make sense. So for anyone from the government to come out and say that we're taking this seriously, X, Y, Z, it just sounds as if it's, I don't believe it. It's just very disgusting. It's not reassuring at all. And I feel really sad for the Jewish community because they are a religious minority, not just in the UK but globally, whereas I appreciate the Muslims will say that they are also a religious minority, yes, but not globally. We are actually a religious majority, and I do feel the peaceful, moderate Muslims, wherever they are, they should be speaking up way more, and they don't. And it's just very disappointing. And sadly, a lot of these Muslim, especially people from my heritage, the Pakistani heritage, these influencers or politicians, they come out and they'll say, yes, you know, it's really sad what happened, but we blame what's happening in the Middle East. No, as soon as you start blaming what's happening in the Middle East, you're giving these extremists an excuse and saying, do you know what, it's justified because what's happening in the Middle East is bad, so therefore it's okay. And this shows their true intent, I feel. So I've seen posts from people on X as well, been absolutely disgusted by this. And I think this is why it's so important for me to speak up, because these disgusting people that share the same race and faith as me, they don't represent my view. I'm absolutely appalled. We as Muslims need to do way more. I may not be really religious, but what I am is I'm a humanitarian. And I just feel sad. I feel that, you know, sadly, I feel a lot of Muslims will make this about themselves. They will start. And I get it, right? They're going to want to protect themselves. However, I feel as if they need to do way more in tackling anti-Semitism, and that is rampant within the community.
Well, because people must know, for example, this guy Jihad al-Shami, we're not sure if it's his real name, but he appears to have come here as a teenager. He was made a British citizen. We don't know if his parents came with him or if his parents are still alive. We just don't know. They've arrested 3 people for sort of aiding and abetting him, allegedly, one of whom is a 60-year-old woman. I don't know whether that's his mother. I don't know. No idea. But, I mean, there must be people in his community, for example, who must have known what he was about to do, because he must have talked to people. He must have, you know, been radicalised in some way, whether it was in a mosque or whether it was online or whether it was, you know, he was watching hate preachers or something. I don't know. But, you know, you would get the sense, would you not?
Yeah.
A bit like the Abedi brothers who blew up the Manchester Arena, that somebody would know something about the fact that he was possibly dangerous.
I would say that the Middle East is a radicalising factor, because when I was in college, someone was tried to radicalise me, and they were showing propaganda videos of what's happening in Gaza. So that is a major cause of propaganda in terms of the radicalisation. However, I feel as if this isn't some crazy one man who's just gone out and done it. This is planned. They chose a day, and it seems as if there's a few people doing it. This isn't, we can't say, oh, this is just one crazy person and he's gone out and done this. No, this is planned, and this therefore suggests there's something way more sinister. And there are extremists, sadly, within my faith, and I do feel, like I said, like, sadly, the peaceful moderate Muslims who call themselves peaceful moderate Muslims, they can do way more, and they just don't do anything. And I appreciate there is the fear of the extremists. I have that as well. But I feel as if we are all to live in this country together, we're going to have to all step up. And sadly, I don't see that from within the Muslim community. I mean, the Muslim Council of Britain is an organisation that I don't know what they're good for. Right. I don't know what they do. What's their function? What do they actually do? And I've seen some of the posts that these people have and other organisations. And I don't believe them. It's all wishy-washy condolences. Oh, this is bad. What happened? And it's just
they
like
don't really mean it.
It doesn't. No. Yeah, it doesn't sadly appear as if they do. And that's why we need more effort. I feel. And I appreciate it's very early days. This happened yesterday only, and more information will come out. And people usually are hesitant to talk about topics because as more information will come to life, of course, that may give us more, more to discuss from different viewpoints. However, I feel that we do have an idea of his background. He's targeted. He comes from the Muslim faith, so Muslims need to do more. And he does come from the immigrant background. So this whole thing about, especially the illegal people coming into this country, the fake asylum seekers, we have so many people coming into this country from hostile backgrounds. They don't like the West, they don't like us. And we are allowing more and more of these types of people. And if this person came as a child who did yesterday's attack, well, that's not reassuring, is it? He came as a child, and he hasn't integrated, and actually he still hated us after all these years. So how many more people are out there?
Well, that's the problem. That's the question I was asking this morning, because, Keir Starmer made a big deal at his conference speech just this week, or a couple of days ago, about how he was attacking for reform, because he was saying they want to go after people who've been living here for a long time, who have absolutely the right to live here, who might be British citizens, who might have been contributors to society and all of that. But also you've got some of these kinds of people, like this Jihad guy, who it turns out is not really contributing. I believe he was living in a council house. We believe that we don't know if he was working. He might have been on benefits. These people who are kind of honeycombed around the country, probably, who don't like Britain and who wish to do Britain harm, and wish to harm whether it's Muslim fellow Muslims, or whether it's Jewish people, whether it's Christians, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is they're not happy to be here, and we should get rid of them, shouldn't we?
We are too tolerant, and I would say, look, I support everyone's right to protest as long as it's peaceful. So whether you're pro-Palestine or pro-Israel, I support that as long as you're peaceful. My issue is that a lot of these people protesting at a time when this has happened suggests as if they're celebrating. So that was, if they really cared about the Jewish community, they wouldn't have done that. Had they not conflated Judaism with Zionism, they wouldn't have done they wouldn't have gone ahead. And a lot of these people are also non-Muslims in the pro-Palestine protest. So we have people, yes, who have migrated here who are an issue, but then we also have the natives as well, for some reason, who are pandering to and supporting these
lefties,
the far left, exactly. So I feel that both are an issue. We're too tolerant, and that is becoming way more dangerous for us. We're failing the country, basically.
Exactly right. Because one of the things that people noticed was when Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu had a meeting in the White House, in the Oval Office, and they came up with the peace plan. You know, all of these people who've been calling for a ceasefire from the left for a long, long time suddenly disappeared. They all went quiet. They didn't go, oh, let's get behind this as a plan for peace. We can actually get rid of Hamas, get them out of Gaza, and let the people of Palestine self-determine, let them have a proper government, and let them rid themselves of these ghastly, horrible, you know, killers. But no, that's not what they said. They all just said nothing.
All I would say is...
As if it wasn't actually peace that they want.
Definitely. I think it just sounds as if offended by everything, ashamed of nothing.
Yeah.
That comes to mind all the time for me. So, you know, we have so many illegal people here still. We've got a failure of this whole country. I don't know what direction we're heading in towards, because I was considering, should I stay in the UK now? Because I feel like, have we hit the point of no return where we're pandering to the extremists, we're doing nothing about these people? And I don't know, the whole thing is an absolute mess, and I feel really, really sorry for the Jewish community. And like I said, I don't speak for every single Muslim, I only speak for myself, but I feel I need to apologise on behalf of the Muslims in this country.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the Israeli Foreign Affairs Minister said this morning. This is Gideon Saar to the Telegraph. The truth must be told. Blatant and rampant anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli incitement, as well as calls of support for terror, have recently become a widespread phenomenon in the streets of London, in cities across Britain and on its campuses. And he's right. You know, the government have been really, really lax, I think, in clamping down on this stuff. You know, yes, of course, everybody says we must have free speech, people must be able to protest. But when you're protesting and you're literally chanting Hamas slogans, or you're chanting from the river to the sea, and you're chanting about the death of Israel and the death of the IDF and all of those things, which they have been chanting, that's illegal, supposedly, isn't it?
I don't know what's illegal and what's not, to be honest, because people, especially in the government, seem to change it dependent on what suits them. But I would say we're
inciting violence is illegal. It's
yeah, definitely,
right?
Definitely, of course, inciting violence is. And I don't know what's going to happen now, but it's a very sad situation.
Yeah. I mean, as far as your own community is concerned, and the community that you operate within, I suppose, I mean, what sorts of things do you talk to people about? What sorts of things do you hear being said?
I would say they see, when they hear about this attack, they talk about the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I feel as if that, if you are doing that, in your mind, you're excusing what happened.
You're justifying it, right?
And it's a reflection. So each time someone speaks, it's a reflection of what's going on in their mind. So you can say that you're peaceful, you can say that you're sad for what happened yesterday, but if you're talking about the Middle East as a justification, you're part of the problem. And
is that a big proportion of people that talk like that?
I would say there are quite a lot of people. Of course, it would be difficult for me to put a percentage on it. And I just feel like, sadly, a lot of the people from my faith do play the victim card. So I wouldn't be surprised if they turned it around and made it about themselves. I feel like Islamic extremists are the biggest factor and a cause of Islamophobia. And so if there are Muslims out there who are afraid of now, Islamophobia increasing, they need to self-reflect and understand these extremists from within our faith are the biggest cause. Because when they're going out there and doing this kind of stuff, especially when they're linking the religion to it themselves, unless Muslims come out in masses and say this disgusting human does not represent us, sadly the image that people will have of us is that we are extremists and we're all like this. And if that's not true, I must urge Muslims to speak up. Right,
because we're in the midst now, aren't we not, of the government considering bringing in a bill which will address Islamophobia, and we were talking about it just the other day. And there's a lot of people who think it's a bad idea, because why should Islam be protected in a way that no other religion is? We don't see why it should. But it would have a chilling effect on free speech, if you want, because people would be told you can't criticise Islam. You can't say what we're talking about today would be suddenly possibly treated as some kind of breach of the law.
I would say this suggests that they've given up on trying to manage this situation in this country. I feel as if because they've given up, they need to bring in these measures because they see it as a last resort. Okay, let's bring in Islamophobia laws because the extremists are out of control, and there is no way of us sorting this issue out.
Right.
And again, that's quite scary because I can't see things improving. We're being too tolerant of intolerant people, and that's going to embolden them even more.
Do you worry as well that we're creating ghettos in this country in terms of some parts of it? I've been to some parts of it. You may well have been as well, but parts of Bradford, parts of Manchester, parts of Birmingham, these are places where there are entire communities which are Muslim only, where there is really no policing done by the regular police. They don't go there. They run themselves. You know, when there were the troubles after Southport last year, there were you know, police officers going into mosques and more or less saying to the imams, you know, you guys deal with the problem. You know, you can tell your Muslim people that they can keep their weapons inside the mosque and all this kind of thing. And it was almost as though there's a sort of two-tier society being built up here.
I would say, so with what happened with the Southport situation, I think that there was news that the mosques would be attacked.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether they then got weapons and then put them in the mosque, or were the weapons already there. So I don't know the backstory behind that. However, there are ghettos for sure in this country. And sadly, if extremists are going to thrive, they're going to thrive in a ghetto kind of environment, because they're in the little echo chamber and there's not that many people correcting them. So there needs to be leadership within the Muslim community, within Britain at least, if not globally, and we need to start. We're very behind, and that's only going to happen when we be honest about the situation. There are bad apples within the community, really, really bad apples, and they're giving all of us a bad name. These disgusting humans who are killing people in the name of a religion or whatever they think is happening in Middle East, these disgusting humans do not represent me, and more Muslims need to speak up, sadly. Otherwise there will be a backlash against the Muslim community, which I of course don't want. My whole entire family is Muslim, but I feel as if that if we don't speak up and make a genuine effort to do something about this, it's going to get really bad.
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's hope it doesn't. Lubna, great to see you though. Thank you very much for